Hey guys, welcome back to another week of this bloody show that they call the Cartwrights. We're chaotic, we're over the top, but what do you do? It's us. Basically this week I want to run through with you a couple of additions I've made to the truck since our rig rundown. Just would be doing you a disservice if I didn't show you the things that we've changed and the amount of, I've put a few things up on our stories where the amount of questions I've got about them, it's enough to warrant me explaining them to you. So what we've done is we've changed out things that haven't worked. We're constantly trying to push the envelope, do R&D, fix things up, and I like giving you guys feedback on things that go wrong, things that go right. When something's good, it's good. When something's bad, it's bad, and I'll say it the way it is.
Welcome to the Cartwrights. We're a family of 5 travelling to the most remote places our beautiful country has to offer in our home on wheels. Our dream since the day my husband and I met has been to touch all corners of this land. To be able to share it with our children makes us pinch ourselves every bloody day. So here's our life. Buckle up and we hope you enjoy it as much as we do.
So, first things first, 2 weeks ago now we snapped the rear right shock mount on our truck. From what I understand in talking to a lot of people more involved in the truck touring community, they're a weak point on the truck. So basically there's companies, or even we bought this through All Terrain Warriors, but there's other companies as well that upgrade the suspension, put super singles on these trucks. But what they don't do is upgrade the shock mounts from factory. Now I'm not blaming anyone because we push this truck bloody hard and I'm very rough on the gear. Disclaimer, right? So I'm not blaming anyone for my problems. What needs to happen, in my opinion, is we need to start reinforcing the rear shock mounts on the axle. There's a lot of people snapping them. When I put up on social media our shocks snapping, we got so many messages of people saying we've done the same thing, how are you going to fix it, blah blah blah. This is how we bloody fixed it. I think you may have seen this even go up on like the trucking, the MPS Facebook group. The people that fixed it posted photos of our truck explaining how it was fixed, but they also put our truck up on the Facebook page, which annoyed me a little bit because I haven't even tested this thing off-road. It's a cracking job. What he's done is bloody incredible, but I haven't tested it, and basically someone's put my name behind something that we haven't, truly tested yet. So don't jump out and just buy these things because you've seen my truck in a photo. That's not how it works, right? As usual, I'm going to test the shiitake mushrooms out of this thing before I tell you that it's good to go. But from what I've seen so far, he has done an amazing job. So, swing under here. I'm constantly down in the dirt, eh? If you have a look at your truck, or if you have a look at any truck, any ISUZU, I'm not quite sure how they work on other trucks like the Hinos or the Fusos. I'm not quite sure how they're set up. I just know my truck. But there's a flimsy little shock mount that's welded to the back axle, and these are the things that we're installing our rear shocks on. Now, they're small, they're flimsy, and the way I cracked mine was directly through the pin, and then it sheared off one side of the mount. There's a few bracing kits on the market at the moment. I don't think that would have helped. It may have helped my situation. I don't think so, because I snapped the pin first. So I sheared the pin off, and then the rest of it sort of tore off. Long story short, they're flimsy and they're not too good. So this is the solution we've come up with. We sat down and we spoke about it. The fellow that made this for me, he's up in Darwin. He was super neat, super thorough, and has done a super neat job. Very, very neat job. I'll just swing it around and show you here. So he's done it out of 6mm steel. It's welded in multiple different locations. It's bulky. It's got a little wash point, so if any small little rocks get up into here, I can just hose that out, wash it out when I'm washing the truck out. A heavy duty pin, and as you can see, the reinforcing and the bracing in this thing is bloody incredible. Now, I've seen a couple of different ways that blokes have done this and remounted it, and I got sent a couple of photos. Oh, do it like this, do it like this. and I was like mortified. There is no way I would be doing it any other way than something like this. Does that mean that my way is going to work? No, because I haven't tested it. Now, I'm not selling this for anyone, but the bloke that did mine is now selling them as a kit. I don't know if they're welded or if they're just like flat packed. I'm not quite sure how they work. I actually don't know the name of it, but if anyone wants it, just message me and I'll message me on Instagram and I'll point you in the right direction. I might have just done myself a disservice there. I'm going to get a lot of messages. Anyway, long story short, what he's done, I am truly, truly happy with. Like on face value, without like, we're going to be doing a whole bunch of corrugations coming up in the next couple of weeks. So I'll be able to put it to the test. But from what he's done from a quality and a visual neatness and like the way it all looks and works, it's bloody incredible. It's very, very neat. Very, very well done. You're going to be buying an ISUZU truck, Hino, Fuso, and you're going to be setting these trucks up for touring. And you're installing remote resi shocks mostly on the rears, not so much the front. The front's not taking as much load. Most of your load's over your rear tyres in these trucks, especially us. We're very heavy on the rear. We've got so to speak. I would advise that you upgrade these brackets because there is a strong possibility you're going to have problems. We'd like to encourage the people that are installing these to come up with a better way of reinforcing the bracket also. I don't really see the point with so many people having issues with this in us not trying to prevent the problem rather than fix it later, because it's not an easy fix and it cost me $2,000 to fix it, and the truck was out of action for 2.5 days. I'm just thinking maybe we should try and... So what I'll try and do also is get a GoPro under here somewhere. Probably just talking crap and there's nowhere to mount it. There we go. I'll mount a GoPro just up here. I'll get it facing this rear shock mount just to show you that there's good clearance on everything. There's nothing fouling, there's nothing in the way, and just see the performance of the shock whilst in the shock mount. I know it sort of goes without saying that like obviously it's all Mickey Mouse and it works, but at least we can see it. So let me test it, let me make sure she works, then I'll be telling you if it works or not, and then you can do whatever you want from there. But I'm not standing behind that post until I've tested it. Upgrade number 2 is the compressor. So if you watched our rig run through, you would have seen I had 2 ARB compressors in there, and then I cut an overlay in of the new compressor I'm going to be installing. The ARB compressor basically, well, I had 2 in there. I had countless problems with them over a 3-month period. Then when I first got them installed, I had 1 in there that just kept crapping out as well. We put the 2 in there to try and make it a little bit better, just wasn't keeping up. Basically, they're advertised to 100% duty cycle, which is not true. I've spoken to countless truck people that are just having trouble. It's taken them 45 minutes to pump up all their tyres. They're great for smaller vehicles. They're not good for trucks. Or anything that goes up to 100 PSI, like what we do. So, if you swing in here underneath the tray in the locker, we've installed that bad boy. So this thing's an Oasis Air. It's from the US. You can get them in 12 or 24 volt. We've got it in a 24 volt because we've got a 24 volt truck. I forget the numbers on it all. I'll throw them in up the top. The basic reason I got this was I was speaking to a mate of mine with an F250 who recently had one of these installed. He goes to 70 PSI for his road pressures. He had the ARB compressor as well that was just not coping. So he upgraded to this bad boy and he reckons he was doing tyres in 3 minutes. Both rear tyres in 3 minutes. He put me onto a video that I watched from Nowhere Bound Touring. Basically, he's the OG, the original gangster of truck touring. He's an older fella, he's way smarter than me, he's probably better than me at everything. I'm just an idiot that likes to push the boundaries on things. So I hit him up on Instagram, I asked him a few questions. Basically what he was saying was he was doing his 2 rear tyres to road pressures in 5 minutes. That is like the most incredible thing I've ever heard when you've been going through 8 months of compressor issues. He has a full install video on his page. I'm not doing that because I'm not really an infomercial. I just like to show you what I'm doing. But this is how I set him up. So basically I've got a hose here, plug that into the edge of the gauge. You can get any gauge you want as long as it goes to 100 PSI. This is the gauge I got. There's hundreds on the market. Pick and choose what you want. I'm just gonna go turn the truck on. Before I go too far, I might actually just swing under here and show you where I mounted the tank. Down the dirt again. Mounted the tank up underneath the chassis, underneath the canopy here, in amongst the chassis. She's up out of the way. Just so you know, when you get this size compressor, you need a decent sized tank. You can't just have a small tank. Or you can't get like your standard size tank for these. You need a larger tank. There's information on their website about the size of the tank that you need. Obviously, you have to go for the larger tank, otherwise you have problems with the compressor just because it's so powerful. I'll let the tyres down. I'll go down to 20 PSI, and then I'll pump them back up to 100 PSI, and we'll see how she does. Take a bit.
Seven years later.
Do I get one too, do I?
Yeah.
It's like 39 degrees here. It's so bloody hot.
Cheers.
Super duper cheers. Anyway, I'm going to plug this bad boy in. Probably put a timer up on the screen too, but I've got a timer here. Probably fast forward through it. But I'm going to connect all this up and we'll see just how quick this thing is. The air tank's full, by the way. Yeah, and then I'll take you on your motorbike. He's been pestering me all day about this bloody motorbike. So the tank was full. Compressors just kicked in. And we're good to go. So just a little bit over 100 PSI. In 6 minutes and 45 seconds, I pulled the Ellis's bike off the back of the truck. Just over 3 minutes a tyre from 20 PSI, which you'll never be at. So our sand pressures are like, the only time you'll ever be at 20 PSI is if you're in a recovery situation in the sand where you really, really need to go low. We went to 20 PSI when we got bogged in the mud that time on the binge track. My sand pressure in the rear is normally 35. So from 35 PSI, I tested it the other day. It took me 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Got that all set up. We're ready to go for a ride now, bud, or what?
Yes.
Yeah? I've got to do the winch first, but I've got to show him the winch, or should I take you for a ride then show him the winch?
Yes.
Yes. Righto. 20 PSI, 100 PSI, 6 minutes and 45 seconds, which means if I was to do the fronts, my fronts don't go as high as the rears, they only go to 80 something PSI. So 10, 15 minutes, and I've pumped up my tyres from literally a recovery PSI, which is as low as it gets, to road pressures, when before it was taking me 45 minutes. So I've halved the time, like less than half the time really. What that equates to is like basically let's just call it 3.5 minutes per tyre is what I'm pumping from recovery to road pressures. Bud, can I have the hose so I can roll it up? The hose, thank you. Then I'll pack him up and off I go. So 20 minutes, the kids aren't screaming and carrying on for 45 minutes. The missus doesn't have to put up with that for however long as what she has to put up with it. And we're Dunskies. Drawback, I think it weighs about 30 kilos. Can't quite remember. It's roughly that. It's bloody heavy. We reinforced all the mounts in here. Got a proper mount made up to it. It's got to sit level. Otherwise the oil in it doesn't sit level, and it needs to be serviced every so often as well, which the ARB ones claim they don't. So that's the compressor. I hope you're as impressed as I am, because that literally changes everything. Righto, bud. You want to go on the motorbike or what?
Yeah.
Yeah? Righto, I'll kick him over.
No, don't kick him over.
Yeah, I meant start him, mate. Choke on. Righto, I'm going to take Knucklehead for a little ride so he stops pestering me, then I'll show you the winch. In our rig rundown, we said that we'd ditch the Sherpa winch because we've had a few problems with it, which we did, plus the serviceability of the whole situation. And we said we installed this carbon. It's called the Tank. So I'm pretty sure, I know All Terrain Warriors are now supplying carbon. The bloke was telling me the other day. Sherpa was just becoming increasingly, and even since then, I've had so many messages about people having issues with Sherpa. So I'm glad they're gone. This carbon winch, I've used it in some pretty heavy duty applications. I'm kidding. I've actually used it in a couple of good solid applications. I've used it a few times now. It's a beast. It hasn't missed a beat. How long have we had it for now, babe? Good 4 months?
Yeah.
And probably used it 4 or 5 times. I get stuck a lot. So what? Ah! That was Dad's finger. Anyway, we might put that back before Dad loses a finger. What do you reckon? It's an absolute, yeah, it goes really well. It's rated to 20,000 pounds. We're super happy with it. As I said, hasn't missed a beat, not a single flaw with it. And you can call them up, which is even better. They've got a service centre, and even I can call All Terrain Warriors up now that they're supplying it. Oh, I'm glad that this whole winch direction has gone the way it was, because there was a time there where we didn't have much option on what winches to put on this truck. Now we've got lots of different options. Carbon is going really, really well. Keep it up, Carbon, because I appreciate a company that's helpful.